A quiet suburban neighborhood. Birds chirping, school buses pass, laughter in the distance. It was a town where nothing ever happened, or so people thought. Parents waved their kids off to school. Teens rode their bikes, hung out at gas stations, posted TikToks and snuck in parties on weekends. But beneath the smiles and selfies, a horror was growing, a secret so dark, so twisted. Even the most seasoned detectives couldn't believe it when the truth came out. You see, in 2012, two seemingly normal teenagers, one a bright honor student, the other a quiet loner, vanished for a weekend. When they came back, they were different. Police were called. Rumors started to swirl, and then a body was found. A brutally murdered woman, dumped like trash in the woods just outside town. Her hands were bound, her mouth gagged. She'd suffered things too horrific to describe. What the investigators uncovered would shake the entire nation. Because this wasn't the work of a career criminal. It was a game, a secret pact, and it was just the beginning. The real terror. They filmed it all. This is the story of two teenagers who looked just like any others, but carried a secret so evil, so cold-blooded, it would haunt everyone who knew them forever. 1. The perfect lie. Las Vegas is a city of illusions, a place where fantasy and deception are a business. But sometimes the illusion doesn't fade when the curtain falls. In 2021, that illusion shattered completely for a local family when a horrific crime exposed a secret no one saw coming. At the center of the story were two teenagers, 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero and 16-year-old Sierra Halseth. They were young, attractive, and in love, or so they claimed. On the surface, it was just another teen romance, text messages, late-night phone calls, forbidden hangouts. But underneath was something much darker brewing, something most parents never think possible. It started with lies, innocent ones at first, where they were, who they were with. But then it grew. When Sierra's parents discovered how serious their daughter's relationship with Aaron was becoming, they made a decision that would forever change their lives. They told her to break up with him. They didn't know it then, but that moment would be the spark. A warning flare ignored. And 1 week later, Sierra's father, Daniel Halseth, respected 45-year-old tech consultant and former Nevada State Senate candidate, would be lying dead in his own home, brutally stabbed, set on fire, and left to burn while his teenage daughter and her boyfriend filmed themselves laughing about it. Point 2. Who was Daniel Halseth? Before we dive into the killers, let's talk about the victim. Daniel Halseth was, by all accounts, a loving father. He was tech-savvy, athletic, and devout in his Mormon faith. Friends described him as disciplined, warm, and full of integrity. After his divorce from Sierra's mother, Elizabeth Halseth, former Nevada State Senator, Daniel had been raising his daughter, Sierra, part-time and was determined to keep her on the right track. But it wasn't easy. Sierra had begun acting out. Teen rebellion, yes, but something more. She had grown secretive, distant. Daniel noticed. He read her texts, and what he found scared him. A series of increasingly obsessive and disturbing messages between Sierra and Aaron Guerrero. They weren't just in love, they were talking about running away together, about hurting people who stood in their way. Daniel put his foot down. He banned the relationship. It was too late. 3. The forbidden lover. And Guerrero came from a troubled background. His home life was chaotic. His father had a criminal record and his behavior was erratic at school. Teachers described Aaron as oddly charismatic but manipulative, the kind of kid who knew how to say the right things to get what he wanted. When he met Sierra, something clicked. She was sheltered, controlled by her parents, and struggling to find her identity. Aaron gave her the thrill, the freedom, and the attention she craved. Together, they became a dangerous pair. Their relationship wasn't just intense, it was all-consuming. They'd lie to their families, sneak out at night, and fantasize about a future together without rules. And then came the plan. When Sierra's parents discovered how serious things were, they intervened. Aaron was forbidden from seeing her. The two were told they couldn't be together. They were teenagers, they should have moved on. But Aaron and Sierra had other ideas for the murder plot. Their idea was simple and horrifying. If they couldn't be together because of Sierra's father, then he had to be removed, permanently. According to later investigations, the teens had discussed the idea multiple times in texts and calls. This wasn't spontaneous, it was premeditated. They talked about sneaking Aaron into the house. They talked about weapons. And they even discussed how to clean up a murder scene. On April 8, 2021, they put the plan in motion. Aaron quietly entered the Halseth home while Daniel was away. He hid inside, waiting for his return. Sierra helped him get in. They stayed there overnight, planning, whispering, waiting. By the next morning, everything was in place. Sierra knew what time her dad would return. Aaron had brought a knife, and once Daniel walked through the front door, the ambush would begin. 5. April 9, 2021. The day everything broke. Daniel Halseth had no idea that death was waiting for him behind his own front door. Aaron Guerrero and Sierra Halseth had spent the night in her bedroom, hiding out while Daniel was away. That Friday morning, Sierra got a text from her dad saying he was on his way back. She replied casually, masking the storm about to unfold. As Daniel entered the house, Aaron was ready. He lunged at Daniel with a knife. The two fought viciously. Daniel physically stronger, tried to fight him off, but the element of surprise worked in Aaron's favor. Sierra joined in the struggle, screaming, possibly attacking as well. In the chaos, Daniel was stabbed more than 70 times. Multiple wounds were fatal. At least one stab struck his heart. After the brutal attack, Daniel lay dead in a pool of blood on the floor of his own home. But the horror wasn't over. Aaron and Sierra, now fully committed to the crime, attempted something truly disturbing. They tried to dismember the body. They had no real experience. The attempts were clumsy. They used a circular saw from Daniel's own tools. Reports later stated the body had burns, lacerations, and evidence of attempted decapitation. They ultimately gave up. Instead, they decided to burn the house down too, destroy the evidence and disappear. 6. The fire. After attempting to clean the scene with bleach and towels, they dragged Daniel's body into a room and lit it on fire. Smoke began to pour from the house. A neighbor saw the fire and called 911. Las Vegas firefighters arrived quickly. They extinguished the flames and entered the home. What they found was beyond anything they expected. Inside, lying among the ash and destruction, was a charred human body. The medical examiner later confirmed it was Daniel Halseth. The fire hadn't destroyed everything. In fact, some of the most damning evidence had survived: bloody footprints, bleach bottles, a knife, and a partially burned saw. Even worse, and Sierra had made a critical mistake. They left behind a receipt from a local hardware store, dated just hours before the murder, listing items including a saw, cleaning supplies, and lighter fluid. The police knew exactly where to start. 17. Killers on the run. By the time Daniel's body was found, Aaron and Sierra were already gone. They had taken Daniel's blue Nissan Altima and vanished from Las Vegas. They weren't subtle. Along the way, they used Daniel's credit cards to buy food, gas, and hotel rooms. Surveillance footage caught them laughing, holding hands, even kissing in public. Their plan was to flee to Los Angeles and disappear, but their faces were on every screen in Nevada. Amber alerts, social media shares, breaking news segments. They were now the most wanted teenagers in the state. On April 13th, just 4 days after the murder, Aaron and Sierra were spotted in Salt Lake City, Utah. They had used Daniel's card. Again, police moved in fast. The teens were arrested without incident and taken into custody. That's when the most shocking evidence emerged. 8. The confession video on Aaron's phone. Investigators found a chilling video. In it, Sierra and Aaron lie together in a hotel room bed. They're laughing, smiling, holding each other, and then Sierra turns to the camera and says, "Welcome back to our YouTube channel." Day 3 after murdering somebody, Aaron smirks and adds, "Whoa, don't put that on the camera." They laugh again. "It was worth it," Sierra whispers. The video is haunting. It shows no remorse in the amusement, as if what they'd done was just a prank, a thrill. Investigators were stunned. This wasn't just a murder, it was an event the killers seemed proud of. 9. The arrest. When police arrested Aaron Guerrero and Sierra Halseth in Utah, they were calm, almost too calm. Surveillance video from the train station showed them sitting side by side, whispering, laughing softly like they were just two kids on a road trip, not suspected killers. In fact, the only thing they seemed truly upset about was getting caught. Both teens were transported back to Las Vegas, where they were charged with murder, arson, and conspiracy to commit murder. Because of the brutality involved and the premeditated nature of the crime, prosecutors announced they would try both teens as adults, despite Sierra being just 16 at the time. The Halseth and Guerrero families were devastated. 2 lives ruined, 1 life taken. And the media, they swarmed the case like sharks. It wasn't just a local story anymore. This was national news. 10. The courtroom bombshells. As the case moved through the system, the public learned just how twisted this crime really was. The confession video became a key piece of evidence. Prosecutors played it in court. Some people cried, some jurors looked away. The laughter, the giddy whispers, the words "day 3 after murdering somebody" haunted everyone who heard them. Sierra's voice was disturbingly casual. She didn't sound forced. She didn't look panicked. Aaron's tone was teasing, as if this was all a joke and edgy prank for the camera. Prosecutors showed the receipt from the hardware store, saws, gloves, lighter fluid. They showed surveillance footage from the store itself, clearly displaying Aaron and Sierra buying the tools together, laughing. They even found text messages between them planning the killing days before it happened. It wasn't a spur of a crime. It was cold, calculated, planned. 11. Sierra's family connection to power. One unusual element of the case was who Sierra's mother was, Elizabeth Halseth, a former Nevada state senator. When reporters reached out for comment, she said only that her heart was broken and she was cooperating fully with police. Some critics accused her of neglect, of ignoring warning signs. Others defended her, saying no parent could have predicted something this horrific. The court, however, focused on Sierra and Aaron's actions, not their backgrounds, and what the court found was damning. 12. The plea deal. Twist as the legal process dragged on, both teens remained behind bars, Sierra in a juvenile facility, Aaron in county jail. Initially, they both pleaded not guilty, but the evidence was overwhelming. The video alone would likely seal their fate in front of a jury. So, in 2022, both teens agreed to a plea deal. They pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. The prosecution agreed not to pursue capital punishment, but pushed for the maximum sentence under Nevada law. Even with the plea, they faced 20 years to life each. 13. The sentencing in July 2023. Aaron Guerrero and Sierra Halseth stood before a judge for sentencing. Their appearance had changed. Aaron looked gaunt, pale, and jittery. Sierra wore glasses and a blank expression. Neither shed tears. Before sentencing, family members of Daniel Halseth gave emotional victim impact statements. He was a father, a brother, a son. He loved Sierra more than life, and she killed him. Daniel's sister, we have to live every day knowing our daughter helped murder her own father. No sentence can undo that. Sierra's mother, Elizabeth Halseth, then the judge, turned to Aaron and Sierra, and he delivered a powerful rebuke. You planned this crime with intention. You filmed it with glee. You destroyed a family. You showed no remorse. Judge Tierrajon sentenced both of them to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 22 years. 14. The aftermath. After sentencing, the courtroom emptied in silence. Daniel Halseth's ashes had already been spread. There would be no grave to visit, only memories and grief. Aaron was transferred to a high-security prison in northern Nevada. Sierra was moved to an adult women's correctional facility. Now officially an inmate despite being only 18, both are now serving life sentences. Sierra will be 38 years old when she's first eligible for parole. Aaron will be 40.15. The questions that remain even today. This case raises questions that haunt people. Why? What makes two teenagers take such a brutal path? Could it have been prevented? Should the parents or schools have seen this coming? Did Sierra really want it? Some claim Aaron pressured her. Others say she was just as involved. The video shows both laughing, both speaking freely, both enjoying the moment. The court saw no victims, only killers. Asterisk 16. Teenage brain. Adult crime. One of the biggest controversies surrounding this case wasn't whether they were guilty, it was how two teenagers could carry out something so cold and calculated. Psychologists and criminal profilers were stunned by the Guerrero Halseth case. It wasn't just a crime of passion. It wasn't even just a rebellious teen tantrum. It was premeditated, well executed, and disturbingly emotionless. Experts pointed to neurological signs. The teenage brain, they argued, is still developing, especially the prefrontal cortex, which governs judgment, impulse control, and empathy. But that didn't explain everything. Plenty of teens rebel. Some fight with their parents. Most don't end up laughing on video about stabbing and burning their father's body. That's why investigators dug deeper into the personal psychology of Aaron and Sierra. 17. Aaron Guerrero, the instigator. Aaron Guerrero, at 18, was legally an adult but still deeply immature. His background showed signs of instability, though no record of prior violence. His father, Will Guerrero, had been investigated years earlier for unrelated threats and aggressive behavior. Some believed Aaron may have learned narcissistic and manipulative behaviors from home. Aaron was known to be controlling in relationships. Friends of Sierra told police he would track her phone, get angry when she didn't respond, and even threaten to hurt himself if she tried to leave. He was also obsessed with violence. His phone history included searches like how to kill a person and get away with it, how long does DNA last after a fire, where to stab someone to kill instantly. It painted the picture of a young man fantasizing about murder and preparing for it. 18. Sierra Halseth. The mystery. Sierra was more complicated. Some saw her as a manipulated child, groomed by an older, toxic boyfriend. Others saw a very different image, a highly intelligent, emotionally detached teen who chose her path. The confession video suggested she was not afraid of Aaron. In fact, she joked more than he did. In one moment, Aaron says, "We had lots of sex after." Sierra laughs and replies, "That's what happens when you kill someone, you get horny." It's one of the most chilling lines ever captured on video from a teenage suspect. Her demeanor in court was blank. No tears, no remorse. Even when hearing about her father's violent death, some called her a cold-blooded sociopath. Others said she was a child lost in trauma, desensitized by abuse, manipulation, and neglect. 19. Their shared fantasy. One thing was clear. Aaron and Sierra lived in a shared fantasy world. They dreamed of running away, of having no rules, no parents, just freedom. And in their delusional minds, murder was the only obstacle to that dream. This wasn't a one-sided obsession. They both wrote notes and texted each other about getting rid of the problem. In one recovered message, Sierra wrote, "Wish you would just disappear. I hate him. I'm not scared anymore." Aaron replied, "We can make it happen. We just need a plan." This wasn't impulsive, it was slow-cooked evil. 20. Internet influence. Another layer. The internet's role. Both teens were heavy YouTube users, watching true crime, serial killer documentaries, and horror content. Some of their saved videos included top 10 brutal killers who got away, how to clean up after a crime, Casey Anthony interrogation footage, Investigators speculated that their obsession with true crime may have romanticized violence, making it feel like a game or performance. And the final act, filming themselves, smiling, confessing, not to the police, but to the camera, as if it were content. 21. The YouTube Generation Killers. After the trial, the media coined a chilling nickname, the YouTube Generation Killers, because Aaron and Sierra didn't just kill someone, they documented it. They shared it, at least privately. They looked into the lens, like so many influencers do, and tried to go viral with their crime. It wasn't about rage. It wasn't about money. It was about infamy. 22. A father's last stand. Daniel Halseth wasn't just a victim. He was a father who tried to protect his daughter from a relationship he knew was dangerous. He read her messages. He confronted her. He banned the boyfriend. He did what so many parents would do, and for that, he paid with his life. Daniel's death was not just a tragedy, it was a brutal betrayal. A man murdered in his own home by the very person he loved most. Sierra had once been his little girl, and yet, in the final moments of his life, she stood by and watched as her boyfriend took everything from him. 23. When children kill. This story forces us to confront a terrifying truth. Sometimes the monsters are children. Sometimes evil doesn't wear a mask. Sometimes it looks like a teenage girl with glasses, or a boy with a charming smile and a quiet voice. They don't always come kicking and screaming. Sometimes they come with a laugh, a whisper, a camera phone. And sometimes they smile while you bleed. To 4. Why this story matters. This isn't just another crime story. This is a wake-up call for parents, for teachers, for friends, for communities. It asks hard questions. What signs did we miss? How can we stop kids from slipping into dark places? When does obsession become lethal? This story matters because Daniel Halseth could have been anyone. His daughter could have been anyone's child. Aaron could have been in any classroom, in any school, in any state. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't understand it, it will happen again. 25. Where are they now? As of today, Aaron Guerrero is incarcerated in a Nevada state prison. Sierra Halseth is also serving life at a women's correctional facility. They will both be eligible for parole in their late 30s after spending more years locked up than they spent alive on the outside. But parole is not guaranteed. And Daniel Halseth, he never gets a second chance. 6. The final chilling words. Let's not forget their own words. On video, in their own voices. Day 3 after murdering somebody. It was worth it. You get horny after you kill someone. These weren't lines from a horror movie. They were real, unscripted, spoken with a smile, and they haunt every parent who hears them. 27. Final message to the viewer. Use calm, cinematic tone. If you've made it this far, you're not just a viewer, you're part of the conversation. What happened in this case should never happen again, but it will unless we talk about it, unless we learn from it. What do you think? Was Sierra a victim too, or just as guilty? Should teenagers like this, they'd ever be released from prison? What would you have done if you were Daniel? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, hit subscribe, give this video a like, and share it with someone who needs to see the reality behind the headlines. Because this isn't fiction. This happened, and next time could happen closer than you think.